can't believe you're doing this to me, Xander. I screamed as he threw my belongings onto the front lawn. You can't just kick me out of my own house. My voice cracked with desperation, but Xander's cold eyes showed no remorse. It's not your house anymore, Raven. You should have thought about that before you decided to betray me. His words cut deep, twisting the knife of his infidelity and lies. I stood there, stunned, as my husband of 15 years tossed my life onto the grass like yesterday's garbage. The man I once loved, the father of my child, had become a stranger consumed by his gambling addiction and deceit. What about Jasper? He needs his mother, I pleaded, my heart aching for our 14-year-old son caught in the middle of this nightmare. Xander scoffed. Jasper doesn't need a mother who snoops around and sticks her nose where it doesn't belong. He's better off without you. Tears streamed down my face as I watched him slam the door, locking me out of the home we had built together. The home where we had raised our son, shared laughter and tears, and dreamed of growing old together. But those dreams had shattered the moment I discovered Xander's secret life. The gambling debts, the lies, and the other woman. The man I married had become a master manipulator, weaving a web of deceit that had finally ensnared me. As I gathered my scattered belongings, my mind raced with the gravity of my situation. I was a 35-year-old accountant, now homeless and cut off from my own child. Xander had made sure to paint me as the villain, turning Jasper against me with his poisonous words. But I refused to let him win. I would fight for my son, for the truth, and for the life we deserved. Xander may have held all the cards, but I had something more powerful, a mother's love and the determination to protect my child. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and dialed the one person I knew I could count on, my best friend, Stella. As the phone rang, I took a deep breath, ready to face the battle ahead. Stella, it's me. Xander kicked me out. I need your help. Her voice, warm and reassuring, came through the speaker. Oh my God, Raven, I'm so sorry. Come over right now. We'll figure this out together. As I hung up, I took one last look at the house that was no longer my home. The windows, once filled with the glow of love and family, now stared back at me, cold and empty. But I knew that this was just the beginning. I would not let Xander destroy the life I'd worked so hard to build. With a newfound resolve, I picked up my bags and walked away from the shattered remains of my marriage. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. I would fight for my son, no matter the cost. Xander may have dealt the first blow, but I was ready to play my hand. The game had just begun. Stella's apartment felt like a sanctuary as I collapsed on her couch, exhausted from the day's events. She handed me a cup of tea, her eyes filled with concern. I can't believe Xander would do this to you, she said, shaking her head in disbelief. What are you going to do now? I took a sip of the warm liquid, letting it soothe my frayed nerves. I don't know, Stella. He's turned Jasper against me, and I have nowhere else to go. Stella sat down beside me, her hand resting on my shoulder. You can stay here as long as you need. We'll figure this out together. I nodded, grateful for her support. But even as I tried to find comfort in her words, my mind was consumed with thoughts of Jasper. I couldn't bear the thought of losing him to Xander's lies and manipulation. The next morning, I drove to Jasper's school, determined to talk to him before Xander could poison his mind further. I waited anxiously in the parking lot, my heart racing as I saw him walking towards me. Jasper! I called out, stepping out of the car. He looked at me, his eyes filled with confusion and hurt. What are you doing here, Mom? Dad said you left us. I felt a surge of anger at Xander's lies. That's not true, Jasper. Your father kicked me out. He's been lying to you. Jasper shook his head, his voice trembling. No, you're the one who's lying. Dad said you betrayed us. You're the reason our family is falling apart. His words cut deeper than any knife. I reached out to him, desperate to make him understand. Jasper, please. Your father has a gambling problem. He's been hiding things from us. I'm trying to protect you. But Jasper pulled away, his eyes filled with tears. I don't believe you. Dad loves me. He would never lie to me. As he turned and walked away, I felt my world crumbling around me. Xander had won. He had turned my own son against me. I spent the next few days in a haze of despair, barely eating or sleeping. Stella tried to comfort me, but nothing could ease the ache in my heart. It wasn't until I tried to access our joint bank account that I realized the true extent of Xander's cruelty. He had drained the account, leaving me with nothing. I stared at the empty balance, my hands shaking with rage. "He can't do this!" I screamed, slamming my fist against the table. "He can't just take everything away from me." Stella wrapped her arms around me, holding me as I sobbed. "We'll find a way, Raven. We'll make him pay for what he's done." Her words ignited a spark of determination within me. I couldn't let Xander win. I had to fight back, not just for myself, but for Jasper. I spent the next few weeks gathering evidence of Xander's gambling addiction, combing through bank statements and credit card bills. I knew that if I could prove his irresponsible behavior, I would have a chance at gaining custody of Jasper. But every time I thought I was making progress, Xander seemed to be one step ahead. He had turned our friends against me, painting me as an unstable, vindictive woman. Even Jasper refused to take my calls, his voicemail taunting me with Xander's lies. I felt like I was drowning, suffocating under the weight of Xander's deceit. But I refused to give up. I had to keep fighting, no matter how hard it got. One night, as I sat hunched over my laptop, a message from an unknown number popped up on my screen. My heart raced as I read the words, a glimmer of hope sparking in the darkness. "I know what Xander did. I have proof. Meet me at the park at midnight." I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. Could this be the break I needed? The chance to finally expose Xander's true colors? I took a deep breath, my resolve hardening. I would meet this mysterious stranger. I would do whatever it took to save my son from Xander's toxic grasp. The game was far from over, and I was ready to play my next move. The park was deserted as I arrived, the midnight air thick with tension. I scanned the shadows, my heart pounding in my chest. Who was this mysterious stranger, and what proof did they have against Xander? A figure emerged from the darkness, their face obscured by a hood. "Raven?" a woman's voice called out, hesitant. I stepped closer, my eyes straining to make out her features. "Who are you? What do you know about Xander?" The woman lowered her hood, revealing a face I had only seen in photographs. It was Xander's ex-girlfriend, the one he had been seeing behind my back. "My name is Olivia," she said, her voice trembling. "I know what Xander did to you. I know about his gambling, his lies. I have proof." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "Why are you helping me? You're the one he cheated on me with." Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know he was married. When I found out, I confronted him. He got violent. I'm afraid of what he might do." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a flash drive. "This contains recordings of Xander's phone calls with his bookie. It proves his gambling addiction." I took the drive with shaking hands, a glimmer of hope sparking in my chest. "Thank you, Olivia. I know this couldn't have been easy for you." She nodded, her face etched with pain. "I'm sorry for the part I played in this. I hope you can use this to protect your son." As Olivia disappeared into the night, I clutched the flash drive like a lifeline. Finally, I had the evidence I needed to expose Xander's true nature. The next morning, I arrived at the courthouse, my heart racing with anticipation. I had filed for an emergency custody hearing, armed with the recordings and my own testimony. Xander was already there, his face twisted with rage. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Raven?" he snarled. I held my head high, refusing to be intimidated. "I'm fighting for our son, Xander. I'm going to prove what a liar and a cheat you really are." The hearing was a blur of accusations and denials. Xander's lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive ex-wife, but the recordings spoke for themselves. The judge's face grew darker with each passing minute, his eyes narrowing as he listened to Xander's desperate pleas. In the end, the truth prevailed. The judge granted me temporary custody of Jasper, citing Xander's gambling addiction and unstable behavior as a danger to our son's well-being. I felt a rush of relief as the gavel fell, tears streaming down my face. I had won. I had protected Jasper from Xander's toxic influence. But my victory was short-lived. As I left the courthouse, Jasper's school called me, panic in their voice. "Miss Raven, Jasper never showed up for class today. We think his father may have taken him." My blood ran cold. Xander had stolen our son, desperate to maintain his control. I raced to the police station, my heart pounding with fear. The detective assigned to the case was a stern-faced woman named Luna. She listened to my story, her eyes filled with determination. We'll find your son, Miss Raven. We'll put out an Amber Alert and search every inch of this city." For the next 48 hours, I lived in a state of constant terror. Every moment felt like an eternity, my mind consumed with thoughts of Jasper's safety. Finally, on the third day, Luna called me, her voice filled with urgency. "We found them, Miss Raven. Xander had taken Jasper to a motel on the outskirts of town. We have them in custody now." I raced to the police station, my heart in my throat. As I burst through the doors, I saw Jasper, his face streaked with tears. He ran into my arms, his small body shaking with sobs. "I'm sorry, Mom," he cried. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you." I held him close, my own tears mingling with his. "It's okay, baby. You're safe now. I'll never let anyone hurt you again." As I looked up, I saw Xander being led away in handcuffs, his face twisted with rage. Our eyes met, and in that moment I knew that this was far from over. Xander would stop at nothing to destroy me. But I was ready. I had the truth on my side, and I would fight for my son, no matter the cost. The battle had only just begun. The days following Jasper's rescue were a whirlwind of police interviews and court hearings. I held my son close, terrified that Xander would find a way to take him from me again. But even as I tried to shield Jasper from the chaos, I knew that I couldn't rest until I had uncovered the truth about Xander's past. There were too many unanswered questions, too many secrets that threatened to tear our lives apart. I spent hours poring over old records and newspaper articles, searching for any clue that might lead me to the truth. And then, one night, I found it. A story from nearly 20 years ago, buried deep in the archives of a small-town newspaper. "Local man arrested in connection with fatal hit-and-run," the headline read. My heart raced as I scanned the article, my eyes widening with each word. Xander had been arrested for a hit-and-run accident that had killed a young woman. He had been drunk at the time and had fled the scene, leaving the woman to die on the side of the road. But that wasn't the worst of it. The article went on to reveal that the woman had been pregnant at the time of the accident. Xander had killed not just one person, but two. I felt sick to my stomach as I read the details of the case. How could I have been married to this man for so long without ever knowing the truth about his past? I printed out the article with shaking hands, my mind racing with the implications of what I had discovered. I knew that I had to confront Xander, to make him pay for what he had done. But even as I steeled myself for the confrontation, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in the pit of my stomach. What if Xander found out what I knew? What if he tried to hurt Jasper again? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I had to be strong, for Jasper's sake. I had to see this through, no matter the cost. The next day, I arranged to meet with Xander at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown. I brought the article with me, tucked inside my purse like a ticking time bomb. Xander was already there when I arrived, his face twisted into a sneer. "What do you want, Raven? Come to gloat about your little victory in court." I sat down across from him, my heart pounding in my chest. "I know about the accident, Xander. I know what you did." His face paled, his eyes widening with shock. "What are you talking about? What accident?" I pulled out the article and slid it across the table, watching as his eyes scanned the headline. "You killed a woman, Xander. A pregnant woman. And then you ran like a coward." Xander's hands shook as he read the article, his face growing redder with each passing second. This was a long time ago. It has nothing to do with us, with Jasper." I leaned forward, my voice low and dangerous. "It has everything to do with Jasper. How can I trust you with our son, knowing what you're capable of? Knowing that you're a murderer?" Xander's eyes flashed with rage, his fists clenching on the table. "You don't know anything, Raven. You don't know what really happened that night." I stood up, my heart racing with adrenaline. "Then tell me, Xander. Tell me the truth." He stood up as well, his face inches from mine. The truth is that you're a pathetic excuse for a mother. You think you can take my son away from me? You think you can ruin my life with this ancient history?" I stepped back, my hand reaching for my phone. "I'm not the one who ruined your life, Xander. You did that all on your own." He lunged forward, his hand grabbing my wrist. "If you breathe a word of this to anyone, I swear to God, I'll make you regret it." I wrenched my arm away, my eyes blazing with fury. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, Xander. I know what you are. and I won't rest until everyone else knows it too. I turned and walked away, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew that I had just unleashed a storm, that Xander would stop at nothing to keep his secrets buried. But I was ready for the fight. I had the truth on my side, and I would do whatever it took to protect my son from the monster that his father had become. The next few days were a blur of paranoia and fear. I jumped at every shadow, every unexpected noise. I knew that Xander was out there, plotting his revenge. I tried to keep Jasper close, to shield him from the storm that was brewing, but even as I pasted on a brave face for my son, I could feel the cracks in my armor starting to show. It was Stella who finally convinced me to go to the police. "You can't keep living like this, Raven," she said, her voice filled with concern. "You need protection. You need to tell them what Xander did." I knew she was right. But the thought of facing Xander again, of dragging our sordid history into the light, made my stomach churn with dread. In the end, it was Jasper who gave me the courage to act. "I'm scared, Mom," he whispered one night, his face pale and drawn. "I'm scared that Dad is going to hurt us." I held him close, my heart breaking at the fear in his voice. "I won't let that happen, baby, I promise." The next morning, I walked into the police station, the article clutched in my shaking hands. I told them everything, about the hit and run, about Xander's threats, about the constant fear that had become my new reality. The detective listened with a grim expression, his pen scratching across his notepad. "We'll look into this, Miss Raven. In the meantime, I suggest you take out a restraining order against your ex-husband." I nodded, feeling a small flicker of hope in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, I could finally find a way out of this nightmare. But that hope was short-lived. That evening, as I was putting Jasper to bed, I heard a loud crash from downstairs. My heart leapt into my throat as I raced down the stairs, my mind filled with visions of Xander's rage. I stopped short at the sight of the shattered glass littering the floor, the jagged edges glinting in the moonlight. And there, in the center of the room, was Xander, his face twisted with fury. "You just couldn't keep your mouth shut, could you?" he snarled, his eyes blazing with hatred. "You just had to go and play the victim, like always." I backed away, my hands shaking with fear. "Get out of my house, Xander. I mean it. I'll call the cops." He laughed, a harsh, grating sound that sent shivers down my spine. "The cops? You think they can protect you from me? I own this town, Raven. I own everything and everyone in it." He stepped forward, his fists clenched at his sides. "Including you. You're mine, Raven. You always have been. And no piece of paper, no court order is going to change that." I felt a surge of anger rising up inside me, hot and fierce. "I'm not yours, Xander. I never was, and I won't let you hurt me or Jasper ever again." He lunged forward, his hands closing around my throat. I gasped for air, my vision blurring as I clawed at his fingers. "Mom!" Jasper's scream cut through the air like a knife. I saw him standing at the top of the stairs, his face white with terror. Xander released me, his eyes darting towards our son. "Jasper, go back to your room. This doesn't concern you." But Jasper didn't move. He stood there, his small body trembling with fear and determination. "Leave my mom alone, Dad. I mean it." Xander's face twisted with rage. He took a step towards Jasper, his fists clenched at his sides. And that was when I saw it. The glint of metal in his hand, the moonlight reflecting off the blade of the knife. Time seemed to slow down as I lunged forward, my body moving on pure instinct. I threw myself between Xander and Jasper, my arms outstretched to shield my son. I felt the knife plunge into my side, the searing pain ripping through my body like wildfire. I heard Jasper's scream, felt Xander's hands on my shoulders as he shoved me to the ground, and then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed, my side throbbing with pain. For a moment, I couldn't remember what had happened, and then it all came rushing back. Xander's rage, the glint of the knife, the searing agony as the blade plunged into my flesh. I tried to sit up, panic rising in my throat. "Jasper," I croaked, my voice hoarse and weak. "Where's Jasper?" A nurse appeared at my side, her face creased with concern. "Your son is fine, Miss Raven. He's with your friend Stella. You need to rest now." I sank back against the pillows, relief washing over me like a wave. Jasper was safe. That was all that mattered. But even as I closed my eyes, I couldn't shake the image of Xander's face, twisted with hatred and rage. I knew that he wouldn't stop until he had destroyed me, until he had taken everything and everyone that I loved. I spent the next few days in the hospital, my mind spinning with plans and possibilities. I knew that I needed to act fast, to find a way to protect myself and Jasper from Xander's wrath. Stella visited me every day, her face pinched with worry. "The police are looking for Xander," she told me. "They've put out a warrant for his arrest, but he's gone underground. No one knows where he is." I felt a chill run down my spine at her words. Xander was out there somewhere, plotting his next move, and I knew that I was his target. As soon as I was discharged from the hospital, I went straight to the courthouse. I filed for a restraining order against Xander, my hands shaking as I filled out the paperwork. But even as I handed the forms to the clerk, I knew that a piece of paper wouldn't be enough to stop Xander. He was too powerful, too ruthless. I needed something more. That night, as I lay in bed, my mind racing with fear and anxiety, I remembered something that Olivia had said to me in the park. "I'm afraid of what he might do," she had whispered, her eyes filled with terror. I sat up, my heart pounding in my chest. Olivia, she was the key to everything. She knew Xander's secrets, his weaknesses. She could help me bring him down. The next morning, I called Olivia, my hands shaking as I dialed her number. "I need your help," I said, my voice trembling. "I need you to testify against Xander. I need you to tell the court what he did to you." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "I can't," Olivia whispered, her voice choked with tears. "I'm too afraid. He'll kill me if I say anything." I closed my eyes, my heart aching with empathy. "I know you're scared, Olivia, but we can't let him win. We have to fight back. We have to make him pay for what he's done." Another long pause, and then finally a sigh of resignation. "Okay," Olivia said, her voice barely audible. "I'll do it. I'll testify." I felt a surge of hope rising up inside me. With Olivia's testimony, I could finally expose Xander for the monster that he was. I could finally get justice for myself, for Jasper, for all the women he had hurt and betrayed. But even as I hung up the phone, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in the pit of my stomach. Xander was still out there, lurking in the shadows, and I knew that he would stop at nothing to keep his secrets buried. I spent the next few weeks living in a state of constant fear, jumping at every noise, every unexpected knock on the door. I kept Jasper close, never letting him out of my sight. And then, one day, the phone rang. It was Luna, the detective who had been assigned to my case. "We found him," she said, her voice grim. "We found Xander. He's been arrested." I felt a rush of relief so strong that it made my knees weak. It was over. The nightmare was finally over. But even as I hung up the phone, I knew that the battle was far from won. Xander would fight this. He would use every trick, every dirty tactic to avoid paying for his crimes. But I was ready. I had the truth on my side. I had Olivia's testimony and the evidence of Xander's past. And I had the love and support of my son, my friends, my family. I would face Xander in court. I would look him in the eye and tell the world what he had done. And I would finally be free. The day of the trial dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside my heart. I dressed carefully, my hands shaking as I buttoned my blouse and smoothed my skirt. Stella drove me to the courthouse, her face tight with worry. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" she asked, her voice gentle. I nodded, my jaw clenched with determination. I have to be, for Jasper's sake, for my own sake. As we walked into the courtroom, I felt a chill run down my spine. Xander was already there, sitting at the defendant's table, his face a mask of cold indifference. I took my seat behind the prosecutor's table, my heart pounding in my chest. Olivia was there too, her face pale and drawn. She gave me a small, nervous smile as I sat down beside her. The trial began, and I listened in horror as the prosecutor laid out the case against Xander. The hit and run, the years of gambling and addiction, the violence and abuse. It was all there, laid bare for the world to see. And then it was Olivia's turn to take the stand. She walked to the front of the courtroom, her hands trembling as she swore to tell the truth. "Mr. Hawkins was violent," she said, her voice shaking. "He would get drunk and lose control. He would hit me, throw things at me. He threatened to kill me if I ever told anyone." I watched as Xander's lawyer cross-examined her, trying to poke holes in her story. But Olivia held firm, her voice growing stronger with each question. And then it was my turn. I walked to the stand, my heart in my throat. I told the court everything. About the years of lies and betrayal, about the fear and the violence, about the night that Xander had plunged a knife into my side. I could feel Xander's eyes on me as I spoke, boring into me with a hatred so intense that it made my skin crawl. But I refused to look at him, refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing my fear. As I stepped down from the stand, I felt a rush of relief so strong that it made my knees weak. It was over. I had done my part. But even as the jury filed out to begin their deliberations, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in the pit of my stomach. Xander was cunning, manipulative. What if he had somehow managed to sway the jury, to convince them of his innocence? The hours ticked by, each minute feeling like an eternity. I paced the hallways of the courthouse, my mind spinning with worst-case scenarios, and then, finally, the jury returned. I held my breath as the foreman stood up, his face grave. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Xander Hawkins, guilty on all counts." I felt a rush of emotion so strong that it brought tears to my eyes. Guilty. He was guilty. It was over. I watched as the bailiffs led Xander away, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. And then I turned to Olivia, pulling her into a tight hug. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice choked with tears. "Thank you for being so brave." She hugged me back, her own tears mingling with mine. "We did it," she said, her voice fierce. "We won." As I walked out of the courthouse, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I could breathe again. I could live again. But even as I savored the sweet taste of victory, I knew that the road ahead would not be easy. Xander's conviction was just the beginning. I still had to rebuild my life, to heal the wounds that he had inflicted on my soul. But I was ready. I had my son, my friends, my family. I had the strength and the courage that I had fought so hard to find. And I knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with my head held high. I was a survivor, and I would never, ever let anyone take that away from me again. The days after the trial passed in a blur of relief and exhaustion. I felt like I had been holding my breath for years, and now, finally, I could exhale. Jasper and I moved into a new apartment far away from the memories of the house that Xander had turned into a prison. We painted the walls bright colors and filled the rooms with laughter and love. Stella helped me find a new job, working as a bookkeeper for a small nonprofit organization. It felt good to be useful again, to have a purpose beyond simply surviving. And yet, even as I tried to move on with my life, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unresolved. Xander was in prison, yes, but his influence still lingered, like a dark cloud on the horizon. It wasn't until I received a letter from him that I realized just how deep his hatred ran. The envelope was unmarked, but I recognized his handwriting instantly. "Dear Raven," the letter began, "I hope you're happy now. You've ruined my life, just like you always wanted. But don't think for a second that this is over. I'll find a way to make you pay for what you've done. I'll find a way to take back what's mine." I felt a chill run down my spine as I read his words. Even from behind bars, Xander was still trying to control me, still trying to make me fear him. But I refused to let him win. I took the letter to the police, who promised to investigate. And then I went home and hugged Jasper tight, reminding myself of all the reasons why I had fought so hard to be free. Weeks passed, and the threats from Xander continued. Letters, phone calls, even messages passed through his prison contacts. Each one was more violent, more unhinged than the last. I began to feel like I was losing my mind, like I would never be truly free of him. But I refused to give up. I refused to let him break me. And then, one day, I received a phone call from Luna, the detective who had helped me put Xander away. "We've got him," she said, her voice triumphant. "We intercepted a package he was trying to send to you. It contained a bomb." I felt my blood run cold at her words. A bomb. Xander had been trying to kill me, even from behind bars. But Luna wasn't finished. "We've also uncovered evidence that he was planning to hire someone to kidnap Jasper. He was going to use him as leverage to force you to recant your testimony." I felt a wave of nausea wash over me at the thought of Jasper in danger once again. But I forced myself to stay calm, to listen to Luna's reassurances that Jasper was safe, that Xander would be facing even more charges now. And then, finally, it was over. Xander was transferred to a maximum security prison. His chances of ever seeing the outside world again slim to none. I wept with relief when I heard the news, my body shaking with the force of my emotions. It was really, truly over. In the months that followed, Jasper and I began to heal. We went to therapy together, working through the trauma that Xander had inflicted on our lives. We learned to trust again, to love again, to live again. And as I watched my son grow and thrive, I knew that I had made the right choice. I had fought for him, for us, and we had won. There were still scars, of course, there always would be. But I had learned that scars were not a sign of weakness, but of strength. They were a reminder of all that I had survived, all that I had overcome. And so as I looked to the future, I felt a sense of hope and possibility that I had never known before. I was free now, truly free. And I knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with courage and resilience. For I was a survivor, and I would never, ever let anyone take that away from me again.
This is the proof that you committed fraud. Hannah, my gifted junior, was on the verge of being fired from the company after falling into a trap set by Austin, our employer. I stormed into their meeting as soon as I learned. Austin tossed several papers on the table with a loud bang. Hannah was accused of fraud in the documents. That is untrue. I took no action. I will not notify the firm if you acknowledge it. You have two options: quit on your own or get fired. You have an option. Hannah's expression went white. I had been listening to the entire conversation in silence, but I had finally had enough. Ha ha. Pa. What the hell is so funny? At this point, my 5-year payback was about to start, and I couldn't stop smiling. I'm 35 years old and go by Isaac. I work for a trading firm that handles imports. Dream Trading is a reputable and well-established business. Did we get an email from the client? Oh, indeed. I just understood. I'll send it on immediately. You're unable to identify the language it's in. Give it to me, and I'll see to it. All the phones were ringing. Workers were rushing back and forth. The sales department was the busiest in the organization, and shouts in Italian and English reverberated around the workplace. And among everything that's going on, yawn, whoops, another big yawn today. Isaac? Yes, the weather is simply too pleasant. It puts me to sleep. I sat by myself in the office corner, enjoying the warm sunlight coming in through the window. As if to ask, how can you be slacking off at this time? Hannah caught me and gave me a stern look. I'm so bored. Oh, I have the ideal way for you to pass the time, though. Really? Yes, work. Hannah dropped a heavy pile of papers onto my desk with a thump. These should be arranged chronologically. After you're finished, tidy the break room. Again? Ugh? Everyone in there is far too disorganized. Everyone is occupied. The only person in the sales department with time for cleaning is you. Haha, you're sharp as ever, Hannah. As the perpetually useless worker, I was what you would refer to as a window seat employee. Someone who hardly works at all, is totally off the path to career advancement, and has no drive or prospects for the future. Even junior colleagues didn't take me seriously. That's who I am now. Hannah, you look busy as always. And whose fault do you think that is? Every single day, I have to walk all the way to this far-off corner of the office. Hannah. Yes, I'll be right there. Called by another employee, Hannah quickly rushed off. I couldn't help but feel bad for her. As a newcomer, whose main job was assisting senior employees, she had also been stuck with the task of delivering work and messages to me. I know I'm a window seat employee, but did they really have to put my desk right next to the actual window? Yawn. Wrapped in the gentle autumn sunlight, I felt my consciousness slipping away. The chaotic office noise, once you get used to it, almost serves as pleasant background music. Pushing the stack of documents aside, I lay my head down on the desk. Are you seriously still sleeping? It's already past noon. An unfamiliar scent tickled my nose, slowly pulling me back to reality. At some point, the office had gone completely silent. Everyone had disappeared. Everyone except for the person standing beside me, peering down. Did you change your shampoo, Hannah? I didn't. And that's the first thing you say after waking up? You really are hopeless. The way she spoke made it obvious she no longer saw me as a senior colleague. Hannah joined the company about a year ago, which means she's 12 years younger than me. Sometimes, I forget which one of us is the senior here. Are you saying I look old? Depending on your answer, I might have to report this to HR. No, I mean, you're really put together. Good, as long as that's what you meant. She let out a sigh, one hand on her hip. That kind of gesture might seem exaggerated on anyone else, but on Hannah, it looked perfectly natural. When she first joined, she caused quite a stir across departments. She had an overall striking appearance. Hannah, by the way, how tall are you again? I'm about 5'7", though. Why? And you went to S. Women's University, right? Did you ever get any nicknames there? Well, for some reason, my juniors used to call me Miss. Why do you ask? Haha, I knew it. Her short hair was neatly trimmed just below her ears. Her sharp facial features, bold eyebrows, and tall, model-like figure. She had the aura of someone who, in an all-girls school, would undoubtedly be nicknamed the Prince. Anyway, Isaac, can't you try putting in a little more effort? To be honest, I used to think all trading company employees were like Austin. Disappointed that this is your senior? To be blunt, yes. Haha, I like that about you. Her ability to speak her mind was one of her best traits. That being said, I really didn't appreciate being compared to him, even if she admired Austin. Austin, huh. Well, I'll admit, even as a guy, I can see why people think he's handsome. It's not about looks. I respect him for his skills as a businessman. After all, Austin is the legendary salesman. There's no comparison between you and him. Puffing out her chest with pride, she looked as if she had accomplished something herself. Austin, the leader of the sales department, and I now stood worlds apart in both status and reputation. But it wasn't always like this. At first, he was just a senior colleague who had joined the company 3 years before me. You probably forgot, but I am a section chief, you know. Yeah, but you're the section chief of the Special Sales Support Division, a department with only one member, no assigned office, and literally a dead-end position. That's hardly something to brag about. She shut me down before I could even argue. I admitted defeat without resistance. Yep, you're absolutely right. The so-called Dream Trading's Exile Department. Originally, it was created as a cushy post for senior executives nearing retirement, giving them a place to pass their remaining workdays in peace. But now, it had become the boogeyman of the sales department. If the high-ups decided you were useless, this was the first place you'd be sent. And that exile department, tucked away in the corner of the sales office, was where I served as the glorified section chief. Isaac, do you have no pride? Don't you want to claw your way back up? Aren't you at least a little frustrated that everyone looks down on you? La, I can't hear you. Don't ignore reality, Kenneth. Say something to him. Just as he returned from lunch, the person she called out to walked over. It was my friend and colleague, Kenneth. Yo, Isaac. Getting chewed out by Hannah again? Perfect timing, man. Save me. My junior's so terrifying, I want to go home early. There. Isaac's got a fragile heart, you know. You, whatever, Hannah muttered, clearly exasperated. She clicked her heels sharply against the floor and stomped away in frustration. She really gives you a hard time, huh? Kenneth said. She's just strict on herself and others. She's a good kid. That's when I noticed it, a document sitting on my desk, that hadn't been there in the morning. New work? Damn, today's busier than usual. No, this is something else. Isaac. Kenneth flipped through the pages, stopping abruptly on one. Then he pointed at a specific section. Look here. Oh, this is bad. We exchanged glances and immediately knew we were on the same page. I'll leave this to you, but it's almost time, isn't it? Kenneth nodded. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. At that moment, my days as the window seat employee were about to come to an end. I think you should rewrite this proposal, I said. Later that afternoon, once most of our colleagues had left for meetings or negotiations, I waited until Hannah was alone before approaching her with the document she had forgotten. Even from afar, she had been restless the whole time. When she saw the documents in my hand, she suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, that. You forgot this. You know, you really shouldn't be leaving things on my desk. I might accidentally throw them away. With you, that actually sounds possible. I mean, thank you. I was looking for it." She was probably finally free from her worries. With a look of relief, Hannah gave me a slight nod of gratitude. Be more careful next time. More importantly, the real reason I went out of my way to come here, something I never do. Just as I was about to bring it up. Got some business with her. Isaac? Ugh. Of all people, the last person I wanted to run into had just returned. Haha. Austin. Wow, long time no see. Yeah, it has been a while, Isaac. Even though we work in the same office. Funny, isn't it? Yeah. Austin, the leader of the sales department. With his actor-like good looks and magnetic charisma, he was wildly popular among the female employees. He was always composed, known for his impeccable manners and reputation as a model businessman. But right now, his smirk was laced with something far less noble. Did you finish organizing the files I asked for? Yeah, you can check them whenever you'd like. Oh, don't worry about that. Just put them back in the original folders. I'll review them when I get some free time. That means that day will never come. Also, he might as well add, unlike you, I'm busy. And thanks for wasting your time on meaningless work. When it came to deciphering Austin's subtle jabs, I was practically fluent. By the way, Hannah, is the proposal for tea confectionery finished? Yes, Austin, she said, but she cast a hesitant glance my way. She probably wanted to say something but held back in front of Austin. I decided to throw her a lifeline. Austin, as her senior, may I offer her some advice? There's something in the proposal that concerns me. Isaac, is that you? He concealed his true thoughts. Why is someone like you stuck in the corner here? But didn't forget to sprinkle in some sarcasm. As always, his ability to lace words with condescension was truly masterful. No need to worry. Guiding her is my responsibility as her direct superior. No need to trouble yourself, section chief of another department. Hannah, let me see the proposal. Austin flipped through the document, nodding in approval. Oh, this is excellent. As expected, you're brilliant. With this, securing a deal with tea confectionery is a sure thing. Really? Beaming from ear to ear, Hannah soaked up his praise. With that, any advice I had to offer would now fall on deaf ears. I decided to wait for another chance. Well then, I'll be off. Good luck, Hannah. Thanks for your hard work, Isaac. Oh, and make sure to work hard on cleaning the break room. As I walked away, I noticed Hannah hesitating, glancing between Austin and me. After a quick sideways glance, I was convinced that she would be just fine. And soon, my intuition would prove to be correct. 30 minutes later, she showed up at the break room, where I was cleaning. I just can't shake it. What exactly was wrong with my proposal? You really are sharp. Even sharper than Austin gives you credit for. Huh. She blinked in confusion as I handed her a small note. 2 weeks later. The sales department erupted with big news. A rookie handling her very first business negotiation had secured a $10 million contract. I thought I wouldn't be able to do it at first, but Austin encouraged me, saying I could handle it. It's all thanks to him for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. Haha, no. I knew I wasn't wrong about you. I'm relieved. Everyone, let's give a round of applause to our outstanding Hannah. At Austin's cue, the entire office burst into applause and cheers. Hannah, beaming, blushed as he draped an arm around her shoulder. So the proposal worked out. Good. Lounging at my desk, basking in the sunlight, I gave her a silent round of applause. Oh, and one more thing. I had exceptionally good eyesight, which is why I saw Austin, in the middle of all the celebration, briefly turn away from the crowd and click his tongue in frustration. Isaac. Oh, Hannah, you shouldn't do that. Even if it was just mouthing my name or waving at me, I pretended not to see her and fully committed to my afternoon nap. That evening, for the first time in my life, I was invited out for drinks by a woman. What? No way. I'm heading home. Old guys like me need to sleep early or tomorrow's going to be rough. You always sleep. Kenneth, help me convince him. Come on, it's fine for once. Today's a celebration for Hannah. You too, Kenneth. Traitor. When did these two get so chummy? Before I could figure it out, I had been forcibly recruited, with both of them dragging me along. We ended up at the bar Kenneth and I frequented. Cheers to Hannah for landing a huge contract. Thank you. Kenneth led the toast, and the drinking party officially began. It didn't take long for Hannah's face to turn red. She probably wasn't much of a drinker. Isaac, who exactly are you? Huh? Me? If I had followed Austin's instructions, if I hadn't listened to you, I probably would have failed, right? Well, she was absolutely right. The proposal had been well prepared, except for one critical flaw. Nuts. Mr. Turner of Tea Confectionery hates nuts. So that memo was right after all. Hate is putting it lightly. He despises them. Right, Kenneth? Yeah, I felt chills when I saw American peanuts listed as a suggested product. It's that serious? Let me break it down. First of all, Mr. Turner's grandson has a severe nut allergy. The man adored his grandson so much that he refused to eat nuts at home, in public, or even allow them anywhere near his company's products. His firm didn't use nuts, and employees weren't even allowed to bring them into the building. If Hannah had submitted the proposal Austin approved, not only would the deal have fallen through, but we might have lost one of our biggest clients altogether. Hannah's buzz instantly vanished. Kenneth tilted his head in confusion. Any company that does business with tea confectionery knows this. Austin didn't mention it. No, he didn't. Kenneth and I exchanged glances. Just as we expected. He must have just overlooked it, right? Anyway, thank you, Isaac. I got the contract thanks to you. Kenneth and I became silent. What's wrong, Isaac? You too, Kenneth. She looked between us, confused. But we were the ones who should be confused. You're really okay with this, Hannah? Huh. Let me be blunt. Austin's doing something to you, isn't he? What? Her eyes immediately darted away. She didn't want to admit it, but she knew exactly what we were talking about. That was the face of someone who had a very clear idea. What do you mean? Nothing's happening. Why are you asking this all of a sudden? Are you sure, Hannah? Yes. It's just that. Sometimes I feel like he gets a little too close. He sits next to me in the break room. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But, since you admire Austin, does it feel more like an honor than a problem? She didn't say anything. It was a cruel question, even by my standards. But it hit home. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. I don't like it. I really want him to stop. You did well saying that. I'm proud of you, Hannah. I was wondering what that scent was. But Hannah, you smell like Austin's cologne. That means he's been way too close. That's not normal between a boss and his subordinate, is it? No, it's not. Do you want to report him to the company? She hesitated. Deep down, she still respected Austin. Hannah shook her head at my question. I see. But as your senior, here's my advice. Never handle this alone. If something happens, it'll be too late to regret it later. Okay. By the way, did my last piece of advice help? Huh. Oh, absolutely. It made all the difference. Thank you so much. Good. Then I'll take my payment for that advice. What? There's something I want you to help me with. The serious look on my face made Hannah's eyes widen as she held her breath. Isaac, who are you really? Over the next month, Hannah's momentum only grew. She secured several major contracts and continued opening new accounts, keeping her name at the top of the performance rankings. No one could stop her. Despite being the newest member of the sales team, she ended up winning top sales of the month. Man, she's on fire. Austin, you must be proud to have such an outstanding subordinate. Oh yeah. She might even be the next head of the sales department. Ha, don't say things you don't mean, Austin. Watching him struggle to keep up his usual smug front, I let out a quiet, dry chuckle. For 5 years, Austin had held the top spot in sales. And now, a rookie who hadn't even been here for a year had snatched it right out from under him. You'll regret this. Austin's muttered words, accompanied by a sharp tisk, didn't escape my notice. Better than I imagined. I didn't expect Hannah to pull this off so spectacularly. Considering all the grief Austin had given me, there was no way seeing that look on his face wouldn't be satisfying. And it was all thanks to Hannah's hard work. To reward her for this grueling month, and to ensure she kept pushing forward, I headed to our usual break room. Hey Hannah, great job. So, what do you think of Isaac? Hannah giggled. That's a little, haha, right? Don't tell Isaac, okay, Kenneth. I stopped at the entrance and instinctively stepped behind the doorframe. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but for some reason, I found it hard to step in. There was something almost sacred about the atmosphere between them. It felt like I shouldn't intrude. Hannah giggled softly, probably at some joke Kenneth had made. Yeah, they looked good together. At 5'11", Kenneth looked well-matched standing next to her. Being the considerate type, I quietly turned away from the scene and left. After that day, I found myself avoiding Hannah. Whenever I sensed her approaching my desk, I'd pretend to be asleep. Not that it mattered much. She was so busy now that she barely had time to come over anyway. There were even days when we didn't talk at all. Then, one day, Isaac, I need to talk to you. It was lunchtime, and the office was empty. Hannah suddenly approached me, her expression serious. Oh, congratulations. Ha, isn't this about you and Kenneth finally? Why would Kenneth have anything to do with this? No. Oh, I see. Oddly enough, I felt relieved, but that feeling was immediately overshadowed because Hannah's face had turned deathly pale, and her voice was shaking. I think I'm going to have to quit the company. What? It's not true. I didn't do anything. Covering her face with both hands, she collapsed into sobs. Quick and not true. Those words alone were enough for me to piece things together. I placed a hand on her shoulder and gently lifted her face. You don't have to say it. I already know. It's Austin, isn't it? She gasped, her breath hitching. Then, wiping her tears, she choked out the truth. He's saying I was giving unfair advantages to clients, that there's no way I could have landed so many contracts in such a short time without cheating. Austin himself told me it was all thanks to my effort before, but now suddenly. That morning, Austin had summoned her to a separate room, Out of nowhere, he had pressured her to resign. A certain client has privately accused you of proposing unethical deals. If you resign on your own, I won't report it to the company. If this gets out, I'll be held responsible as well. The company's reputation will suffer. A lot of people will be affected. But if you won't be selfish and drag everyone down with you, feel free to stay. The last part was practically a threat. I didn't do anything wrong, even if you don't believe me. But Austin, he has evidence. I believe you. Without hesitation, I met her gaze and said it firmly. Relieved, Hannah's eyes welled up with tears once again. The sight made my chest tighten because part of this was my fault. I'm sorry, Hannah, but I promised I won't let you quit. Immediately, I contacted Kenneth. He was already prepared. Everything was set. All that was left was execution. As expected of my best friend. Time for payback. Let's settle this 5-year grudge once and for all. A few days later, Austin, can I have a moment of your time? I stopped him in the hallway. He turned visibly irritated. He didn't even have the composure to fake his usual charismatic smile. He was cornered. I'm busy right now. Can't this wait? Hannah, it's about my resignation. The moment she said that, Austin's expression immediately brightened. Ah, I see you've made your decision. Let's talk in a private room. I smoothly pulled Hannah away from Austin, who tried to put his arm around her like it was the most natural thing. Oh, and Isaac, why exactly are you here? Come on now, no need to be so stiff. I'm not exactly uninvolved in this after all. Taking advantage of Austin's confusion, I smoothly followed along. Once we stepped into the nearby meeting room, I wasted no time getting to the point. Hannah is innocent. This whole accusation, it's just a misunderstanding on your part, isn't it, Austin? What did you tell him? Everything, Hannah answered. Yes, I see. Austin let out an exaggerated sigh, making Hannah flinch. Don't worry. There's no need to be scared of a guy like that. I gave her a reassuring smile before stepping forward. You said you had evidence. That there was testimony from a client claiming she engaged in misconduct. That's right. And it's not just testimony. There have been discrepancies in expense reports for some time now. It's unfortunate, but I believe Hannah has been bribing clients. That's ridiculous. I'd never. It's unfortunate, but this is the proof. With a dramatic flourish, Austin tossed a stack of documents onto the table. The papers were filled with numbers and statements, seemingly confirming her misconduct. On the front page, bold letters read, Investigation Report on Hannah's Fraudulent Activities. Hannah's face turned ghostly pale as she clapped a hand over her mouth. Seeing her reaction, Austin went in for the kill. It's disappointing, really. I had such high hopes for you. But I understand. Once you taste success, it's hard to let go. I sympathized, truly, but that doesn't mean I can overlook fraud. No. This isn't right. Hannah, paying bribes to secure contracts. Embezzling company funds. Even I can't protect you this time. Now, what will you do? Get exposed and face termination? Or resign quietly? Or would you prefer to be demoted and have your desk moved to the window seat? He sneered. I'm letting you choose your fate. I had been silent the whole time, letting him dig his own grave. But now, seeing him out of breath from his own performance, I had finally reached my limit. Ha ha. 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 Isaac. Sorry, I clutched my stomach, laughing too hard. I couldn't hold it in. Ha ha. Hannah stared at me, wide-eyed, as I suddenly burst into laughter. I apologized to Austin again. My bad. It's just too familiar. What the hell are you talking about? You really don't remember? 5 years ago, Austin, you said the exact same thing to me. Austin visibly tensed. Looks like he finally remembered. He finally recalled what he had done to me 5 years ago. And not just the words, even the methods were the same. Damn, I haven't laughed this hard in ages. Isaac, what do you mean? Oh, right. I never told you, did I, Hannah? This guy is the reason I became a window seat employee. What? That's right, isn't it? Legendary salesman. Isaac, you bastard. So it really had been 5 years, huh? The weight of time settled in as I let my mind drift back. Well done, Isaac. You're the top salesperson again this month. Thank you, Austin. This was back when Austin was still just a regular employee, and when I was still a respected member of the sales department. At the time, I was on top of the world. Damn it, Isaac again. We just can't compete with him. Guess that's what you get when you hire an elite from the university. I ignored the half-jealous remarks from my peers, too caught up in my own streak. I kept breaking records, achieving the highest sales in company history again and again. My confidence soared. I never saw the trap waiting just ahead. Isaac, I'm sorry, but we have proof that you engaged in fraud. Austin dropped the bombshell right after our department head, Tom, retired. My mind went completely blank. Of course, I had assumed I would be the next department head. That's impossible. I haven't done anything wrong. This is the proof. I'm submitting this report to the company. No, I get it. I do. Once you achieve great success, it's hard to let go. But that doesn't mean fraud is excusable, right, Isaac? This isn't right. Bribing clients just to maintain your numbers, and worse, embezzling company funds. Even I can't cover for you anymore. I had high hopes for you, but at least I'll let you choose. Be exposed and get fired or resign on your own. What's it going to be? I made my choice, and as you can see, I'm still here. I couldn't bring myself to resign. Austin kept his word and submitted the report to the company. However, the evidence wasn't strong enough to justify immediate termination. Yet, I couldn't fully prove my innocence either. My contributions to the company also couldn't be ignored. Caught in a dilemma, upper management reached a decision. They demoted me, exiling me to the Special Sales Support Division, a glorified punishment post. And Austin. He took over all of my clients and accounts. Using my downfall as a stepping stone, he fast-tracked his way up the corporate ladder. Even the title of legendary salesman, which had once been mine, was stolen by him. I knew from the start that he fabricated the charges against me, but I couldn't prove it. All I could do was insist that I hadn't done anything wrong. Titch, and where's your proof now? Stop making baseless accusations. You were right about one thing, Austin. I didn't quit because I couldn't let go of my success. But that wasn't the only reason. While everyone laughed at me, calling me a lost cause, there was one person who didn't. The colleague I had always seen as my rival, my competition for promotion, told me, "Don't quit." That person was Ken. Don't quit, Isaac. Austin's going to slip up eventually. Just wait it out. Isaac, eventually when? Just leave me alone, man. No, I want to change this company with you. I stared at him, completely dumbfounded. Then Kenneth grabbed my shoulder, his grip firm. With even more passion, he continued. This company is old-fashioned. It's stuck in the past. Look at Austin. Just because he has connections higher up, he gets to rewrite reality. It's messed up, isn't it? You contributed more than anyone, but they erased everything with some fabricated evidence. That's the kind of place we work for. Ken, you believe me, that it was all made up, that I didn't do anything. Of course. As if to say, so what? Kenneth's words hit me straight in the heart, so much that I nearly teared up. Kenneth, you were always this passionate. Doesn't really match your usual personality. I just pretended to be cool. I tried to copy your composed attitude because, Isaac, you were my role model. What? So don't disappoint me. You're the legendary salesman, remember? Kenneth's words saved me. So this time, I'll be the one to do the same. You can't quit, Hannah. Don't take the blame for something you didn't do. Don't throw away everything you've worked so hard for. Hannah's remarkable rise was actually masterminded by Kenneth and me. We gave her all the guidance we could, ensuring she delivered standout results. We knew that if she rose too quickly, Austin would panic and expose himself. Sure, we used her, but the rest was up to her effort. Even we hadn't expected her to perform that well. Austin, you recently had a matchmaking meeting with the executive director's daughter, didn't you? How'd that go? What? That's none of your damn business. Oh, so it did go well. No wonder you couldn't afford to let a newbie steal your top spot. Was that why you tried to sabotage the tea confectionery deal? So you could swoop in and take credit. 5 years ago, he did it to climb the ranks. This time, he did it to secure a connection to upper management. Twice now, Austin had framed people who stood in his way. You don't understand anything. You always had everything handed to you. You went to a top university and just naturally ended up at the top. But I had nothing. I was dirt poor. I had to work nonstop just to save up for tuition, and even then, the best I could get into was a third-rate university. So I had to work my ass off in this company to climb my way out of the bottom. What's wrong with that? If that's what you call effort, then we have different definitions. What? The real way to climb isn't by pushing others down. It's by sharpening your own skills over and over until you're on the verge of breaking. It's painful, but I didn't want to lose either. That's why I endured. And that's why, in the end, I didn't lose to you. Austin glared at me, hatred burning in his eyes. Then he muttered, "Where's your proof? Show me actual evidence that I framed you. I'm not admitting to anything." Haha, that's the Austin I know. Here, you asked for proof, right? With a heavy thud, I dropped a mountain of documents in front of him. 5 years of work. The sheer volume alone was overwhelming. Austin had seen me carrying these files, but he never imagined they were his crimes being compiled. I had played the worthless window seat employee for years just to make him lower his guard. Kenneth and I had been waiting for this exact moment. What? Bribes, embezzlement, obstruction of subordinates, you name it. And don't bother trying to destroy these. The data has already been sent to the president. No. Where's your proof that this proof is real? What if you fabricated all of it? Man, talk about being desperate. Just as I sighed at his pathetic resistance, the meeting room door swung open. Here's some extra proof. We finally got testimony from a client who accepted Austin's bribes. Kenneth, give it up. Austin, even they admitted it. There's no getting out of this. Shut up. It's not over yet. Oh, come on. Even now, he was still struggling. Kenneth and I exchanged glances, but before we could respond, Hannah stepped forward. I have more. What else could there possibly be? A record of your inappropriate behavior toward female employees. There had always been rumors about Austin, about how he got too close to women in the office. But because the company had few female employees and Austin had a polished public image, no one had ever come forward. So we had asked Hannah to gather testimonies. As a woman herself, she had a better chance of getting others to speak up. And I'm one of the witnesses. Don't even think about saying it wasn't that bad, because every single time I smelled your cologne, I felt sick remembering how you touched me. But you laughed. If you didn't like it, you should have. You were in a position of power. Did you seriously believe every woman smiled at you because they liked you? Sorry to break it to you, but you've been living in a fantasy. And just so we're clear, Hannah, that's enough. You're neither as young nor as handsome as you think you are. Okay, that's enough. I had been through it before. Hannah's verbal attacks were brutal. Austin, completely defeated, trembled as he hid behind the very documents that condemned him. And with that, my 5-year-long revenge was complete. After that, the overwhelming evidence we submitted was fully acknowledged by the higher-ups. That became the decisive blow, and Austin was officially dismissed. His arranged marriage was also called off. And as for what he's doing now, who knows? That said, he was originally a hard-working and ambitious person. If he reflects on his actions and finds the will to rise again, I have a feeling he'll claw his way back up no matter how low he's fallen. As for me, right after Austin left the company, thanks to a direct decision from our president, Mr. Nelson, I was reinstated in the sales department. The Special Sales Support Division was officially disbanded. This personnel change was largely influenced by Kenneth's appeal to Mr. Nelson. A talented employee is stuck in the shadows, constantly facing unfair treatment. Isn't that irrational? Isn't that a loss for the company? Please, Mr. Nelson, pay attention to your employees. Talented people should be recognized, and those who have both skill and dedication should be rewarded even more. Isaac is someone who deserves to be valued. Mr. Nelson, who had left the field entirely in the hands of upper management, finally turned his attention to the workplace. After hearing Kenneth's words, he reassessed my performance and gave me the opportunity to shine again. And the fact that I later reclaimed the top sales record was proof enough that his decision had been the right one. Cheers! Tonight, we're celebrating Isaac's return. It's on me, so drink up. No holding back. You too, Hannah. Yes, congratulations, Isaac. Thanks, Kenneth. Hannah and Kenneth, before you get too drunk, let me say this. Thank you for stopping me back then, for supporting me through these past 5 years, and for bringing me back to the sales team. With all my gratitude, I expressed my thanks to Kenneth. Hey, remember back when we first joined? I had better sales numbers than you, huh? Oh yeah, that's right. You shot straight to the top, overtaking all the senior employees. I was so sure I was an elite. I thought I was on a fast track to promotion, never once looking around, never even considering that people might resent me for it. Despite his outstanding performance, Kenneth's promotions kept getting delayed. Turns out his boss at the time had deliberately sabotaged his evaluations out of jealousy. I had never known the truth until now. That's why I saw myself in you, Isaac. You had talent, you got results, and because of that, some cowardly bastard resented you. It was just like what happened to me. I couldn't stand by and do nothing. I'm going to rise up. I want to change this company so that the people who deserve recognition actually get it. And that includes you, Isaac. Wait, me too. You got this, Isaac. Oh, and of course you too, Kenneth. Woohoo. Already drunk and red-faced, Hannah beamed as she clinked glasses with Kenneth again. Seeing them like that, something clicked in my mind. These two were already ready. Kenneth, make sure you take Hannah home properly. Ha. Why me? If anything, that's your job. Wait, aren't you two dating? What? I told Kenneth about what I had seen in the break room. How the two of them had been having a deep conversation. To me, it only made sense that they had feelings for each other. Oh, aha. No, that was just her asking for advice about you. Advice. Come on, Hannah. Tell them properly. Encouraged by Kenneth, Hannah looked at me with hazy eyes. The person I really like is you, Isaac. I just couldn't say it. I was too embarrassed. What? Seeing her smile shyly for the first time, I thought she looked adorable. Even if you have talent, even if you put in immense effort, recognition is never guaranteed in this world. But giving up because of that would be a waste. If you don't give up, a path might open up somewhere down the line. And maybe, just maybe, someone nearby has been recognizing your efforts all along. I want to build a company with my best friend. One where hard work is properly valued. For that, I'll keep pushing myself even harder. Poor families' unmarried mothers always come last. Smith, the bank clerk, made fun of me and laughed cruelly. I was initially unable to understand what he was saying. No, I had no desire to comprehend them. He is such a nasty man. I would like to punch him in the face right now, if it were legal. We'll call the poor people later. It is a time waster. This man appeared to be unaware of how those around him perceived him. Everyone scowled at his actions and gave him icy looks. In such stifled environment, my beloved daughter raised her voice. Let's transfer all $1.2 billion to the bank next door. This bank clerk was going to go to hell right after that. My name is Jessica Thompson. I am a single mother who lives with my daughter, Emily, and I am simply a typical mother who loves her daughter. With a 12-year-old, our tiny flat, which had plenty of sunlight, was becoming claustrophobic. I decided it would be a good time to move since Emily would soon be starting middle school. I began thinking about moving for another reason. I had initially considered leaving this apartment because of some small issues that had been occurring recently. The parking lot was the source of the issue. Every now and then, someone would park in the monthly space I reserved without my consent. Mom, they're parked there again. Really? What a pain. Anyone observing the car could not help but notice that it was a fancy vehicle. Since it would vanish at night, it was utilized for work-related activities. But the expensive car would always be parked there when I got home early from work, making it impossible for me to park my own vehicle. I was forced to pass time by going shopping or running errands as a result. Frankly, it was a nuisance. I was paying every month to park my car there, certainly not for allowing unauthorized parking. Excuse me, that car is parked there again. Yes, please handle it. Contacting the management company for a warning was ineffective, so I decided to contact the police. This sort of parking on private property is a civil non-intervention matter. Is that so? Well, we can patrol and give a verbal warning to the car owner if necessary. The police were hesitant due to their policy of non-intervention in civil matters, but they promised to give a verbal warning to the owner as soon as they identified them. However, this seemed to have angered the luxury car's owner. Hey, you're the one who told the cops about me. One day, while returning from shopping with Emily, we were confronted by the owner of the luxury car, who had been lying in wait. As we stood there, frozen from the sudden outburst, the man started yelling at us even more furiously. Because of what you said to the police, I was humiliated. I was just borrowing it for a little while. You're too narrow-minded, he raged. If I had been alone, I might have yelled back. In fact, I might have turned the tables on him. But now Emily was with me. I just patiently listened until he finished his tirade. I'll remember your face. Having said what he wanted to say, the man stormed off, still shouting. I'm sorry, Emily. That must have been scary for you. No, I'm fine. Due to this frightening experience, we decided to move earlier than planned. Luckily, we found a nice apartment that met our criteria and looked forward to living in our new home. During the moving process, I needed to go to the bank, so I took Emily, who was on summer break, with me. Wow, it's pretty crowded here. Yes, it seems we'll have to wait. Is that okay? It's fine. I brought a book to kill time. The bank was quite busy, and there seemed to be a wait. As I was about to take a number and wait my turn, I heard a sudden exclamation. Ah! Looking toward the source of the voice, I saw a middle-aged man staring at me. His face seemed familiar. He was the owner of the luxury car who had yelled at us. Oh, that man. He's the one who parked his car without permission, right? And instead of apologizing, he yelled at us. Emily remarked in a normal voice, having recognized him too. The man's loud voice had already drawn attention, and now the whispers began to spread among the people around us. You shouldn't speak ill of others, okay? I didn't confirm or deny her statement, just gently corrected her. The man was wearing a nameplate that reads Smith. So he works here, I thought. I watched as he turned red and looked down. I took a number and motioned for Emily to sit down on a sofa with me. Emily's bravery might have come from me. With that thought in mind, I waited to be called. Isn't this taking too long? Exactly. Maybe we should ask about it. But even after an hour, there was no sign or number being called. The call number had long passed my turn. People who had numbers after mine had already finished their business and left. I stood up and approached the lady at the counter. Excuse me, it seems my number still hasn't been called. The woman was wearing a nameplate that read Johnson. Just as Johnson, with a pale face, was about to say something, she got interrupted. Hey, Johnson. Suddenly, Smith stepped in and stopped her. Startled, Johnson shuddered. Please wait a little longer, she said with difficulty, bowing her head. Okay, I replied, though feeling something was amiss. Smith watched me with a slight grin as I reacted that way. It was honestly unpleasant, but I chose to ignore it. What did they say? They said to wait a little longer. Is that so? Emily looked unsatisfied, but waited quietly. Time passed, and still, we weren't called. Emily had finished her book and was fidgeting. I'll go ask again. Telling that to Emily, I asked Johnson again, but got the same response as before. Suspicious, I asked another bank clerk. That clerk also looked down, repeating, Please wait a little longer. In that situation, Smith looked at me with a triumphant expression. I couldn't help but meet his eyes, and upon noticing my attention, he smirked and spoke. You're a single mother, right? Single moms, especially the poor ones, are always the last. What? What did this man just say? Not sure if it was my lack of understanding that was funny, but Smith started laughing at me as if to mock me. We're not going to waste other customers' time on someone like you. We'll call the poor folks later. What a waste of time. At those words, rage momentarily whitened my mind. Imagining landing a solid punch on his face, I observed Smith and the surroundings. Unaware or indifferent to the disapproving faces around, Smith continued to laugh crudely. Some even cast cold glances at him. This was probably his spiteful response to being called out for his illegal actions and what Emily had said earlier. Several clerks, including Johnson, were looking pale and downcast. I was infuriated by such childish behavior from a grown man. So, is this the policy of this bank? To serve those without money last? I raised my voice deliberately loud enough for others to hear. More and more people started gathering, their gazes coldly staring and whispering about Smith. He seemed oblivious to it. He kept smirking and looked down at me as if he was superior. Just because I'm a single mother doesn't mean I'm poor, right? Even if I were, I'm still a customer who deposits money in this bank. Shouldn't I be treated the same as other customers? You probably just have a few thousand in there, right? It's always those living in cheap apartments and driving compact cars who talk like that, he said mockingly and laughed at me. That's it. I won't forgive this anymore. At that moment, Emily, with a displeased look on her face, came up to me. While glaring at Smith, she opened her mouth to speak. Hey, Mom, instead of this bank with such an unpleasant man, let's move all of our $1.2 billion to the bank next door. Yes, we should. I agreed, smiling at my daughter's words. What are you talking about, kid? You mean $1.02, right? Seeing that, Smith sneered. I slammed our passbooks in front of him. Why don't you check for yourself then? At my words, Smith casually opened the bank book with a look of confidence. His expression turned pale in seconds. In response, this time, I had a triumphant look on my face. In fact, I am a company president. I took over the business from my husband, who passed away 10 years ago. My husband, Jake, started an 8 company during his college days. His dream was to grow this company and bring joy to many people. True to his word, the company started small, but Jake had the talent, and it grew rapidly, becoming larger and larger. I'll get Jessica to help out too. Of course, this company is my dream too. Originally, Jake and I were business partners. We were classmates in college and also members of the team that started the company together. Jessica, would you come with me? Yes, it sounds exciting. Also, I want you to be my girlfriend. We started dating when we graduated from college. Since then, I've been working hard alongside Jake. The company we began with a few members grew to over 100 employees in 10 years. We've come this far because you were there, Jessica. That's true. I could keep going too because you were there, Jake. On our 10th anniversary, Jake proposed to me. I want Jessica to be the one I share the rest of my life with, Jake said to me. By the way, the proposal happened at a restaurant with a beautiful night view, a rare outing for us. Normally, we never went to fancy restaurants, just sticking to bars and the like, so both Jake and I were super nervous about it. But after he proposed, I realized that Jake's nervousness wasn't just about that. Yes, I'd be delighted. Oh, good. As I nodded, close to tears, Jake's tension visibly melted away. He beamed back, his face alight with joy. It's a fond memory. How I thought I wanted to support this man for life and smiled back wholeheartedly. Our married life was filled with happiness every day. No matter how tired we were from work, being at home with each other was always comforting. Jessica, I'll cook dinner tonight. Thank you. Then I'll take care of the laundry. Ah, thanks for doing that. We always expressed gratitude for shared household tasks and exchanged gifts on anniversaries. We regularly went on dates, always sharing our honest feelings with each other. It was a truly loving life. I'm so glad I met you, Jessica. You too. Let's make sure our child is as happy as we are. Yes, we must make our child very happy. Emily was born 2 years after we got married. We had discussed that if we had a daughter, her middle name would be mine, and if it was a son, we would name him after Jake. She's a cute girl. Sure. For her name, I've been thinking, how about M? Yes, I'd love it. And so, we named our daughter Emily. Jake doted on her and was actively involved in parenting. I'll take care of her tonight. You get some rest. Thank you. We took turns dealing with the night crying and had become quite adept at changing diapers. I bought a blender for making baby food, but since Emily didn't eat much, it ended up being underused. Well, it's another good memory. Yes, let's tell Emily when she's older. It'll be a funny story. Exactly. Jake was so smitten with Emily that he often accidentally spoke to his employees in baby talk. Hey boss, you're doing the baby talk again. Oh, sorry. Forget that. That? How many times is this now? Really, such a doting parent, aren't you? The employees watched Jake fondly, and I was secretly smiling too. When Emily started crawling, Jake would crawl after her. And when she began walking, he was overly protective, always staying close in case she fell. Emily adored Jake and said Dada before Mama. Did you hear that, Jessica? She just said Dada. Yes, I heard. Yay. Emily called me Dada. She called me Dada. Although I was slightly taken aback by Jake's cheerful joy, I felt happy. But our happy family life was abruptly struck by misfortune. Jake, Emily has a fever. I'm going to leave work early. Oh. Okay. Should I come along too? It's okay. I'll leave first. Shortly after I returned from maternity leave, I got a call from Emily's daycare that she had a fever. After getting permission from Jake, I left work early, picked up Emily from daycare, and took her to the pediatrician. It's gotten so late, Jake must be worried. It was past 7:00 p.m. by the time we left the crowded clinic. What's this? In front of the apartment building, there were lots of police cars and ambulances. I was wondering what had happened when. It's a traffic accident. How scary. I hope the driver who got rear-ended is okay. I heard passers-by whispering about it. As I got closer, I learned that a car had run a red light and caused the accident. And then, the car that was hit by another running a red light and crashed into a pole was a car I knew all too well. Jake. It was supposed to be Jake's car. The police confirmed that Jake had been in the car. He was trapped between the pole and the other car and had passed away. In the car, I found a bag with Emily's favorite yogurt and ice cream. He must have bought it thinking about what Emily, who had a fever, could eat. But now, they were ruined. If only I had asked him to come with me. I don't remember much after that. Our parents, who lived far away, rushed over. Poor Jessica, leaving little Emily behind. Such a tragedy. I vaguely remember them being by my side. They handled all the arrangements while I was in a daze. Everyone cried over Jake's sudden departure. Unaware of everything, Emily alone was beaming with a smile at the people who had gathered. This only deepened the sadness. The fact that Jake was gone. The horrific scene of the traffic accident. Remembering this, I sold the apartment we lived in at the time and rented a smaller apartment. Just right for Emily and me. I'll protect Emily for both of us, Jake. I took over Jake's role as president of the company. No one objected, and everyone supported me. I was grateful for that. Jake had left a substantial inheritance for Emily's sake, but I would have preferred Jake's presence over any amount of money. I would have been content with a life of poverty if only Jake were with us. Still, for Emily's sake, I decided to love and protect her as Jake would have. Did you get a good look, Smith? I asked the pale-faced Smith. Is it just a small amount of money to you? In response to my question, Smith just stood there, his face red and trembling, without saying a word. Was it shame or anger? Since he remained silent, I decided to take action. I cannot trust my assets to a bank with a clerk like you. I will cease all transactions here. I declared to Smith and smiled at Johnson, who had been anxiously watching us. Will you please call the branch manager? This person is not suitable for discussion. Yes, right away. Johnson hurried off to fetch the branch manager. Moments later, the branch manager arrived, looking flustered. Mrs. Thompson, it's been a while. What can I do for you today? I'm not sure how Johnson introduced me, but the branch manager seemed quite flustered, his voice sounding a bit shaky. Pod, she really is the president. Seeing the branch manager bow his head, Smith muttered to himself while looking at me. I handed the useless number ticket to the branch manager. I wasn't called even after waiting for so long. So when I asked Smith, he said that single mothers and poor people are served last. Don't steal other customers' time. Wait your turn, he said. I can't wait any longer. I'd like to do business with the bank next door from now on. The branch manager turned pale at my words. Don't believe it. I have a way of saying that. Emily started using her smartphone. I had given her a smartphone for safety and security reasons. It seems she had recorded our earlier conversation on it. From Emily's smartphone, the earlier abusive words of Smith played out. Oh, you recorded it? Yay, I'm so sorry. Presented with such evidence, the branch manager desperately pleaded an apology. Nearby, Smith was still looking down, unchanged from earlier. Please, we can't lose your business. It would put us in a very difficult position. Because he ranted at me about being poor, I'm sure it's not a big deal for you to do business with me, is it? Is it the bank's policy to put off poor people in the first place? If others have been treated like this, I don't want any relationship with a bank that lacks basic human rights awareness. You never know what might happen next. That's what trust is, right? You're absolutely right. I'm very sorry. The branch manager kept apologizing, nearly in tears. I was starting to feel sorry for him. It's not his fault. It's Smith's. Smith remained silent, still trembling. At this rate, nothing would be resolved. Smith, do you have something to say? He suddenly looked up. You're just living off your husband's inheritance. How dare you talk like that, being a woman? His yelling echoed throughout the bank. The situation then escalated into a storm of verbal abuse. You must be relieved your husband is gone. Just happy to have his money. All women think like that. Stop it. The branch manager tried to intervene, but Smith was uncontrollable and beyond anyone's help. I stepped back with Emily and glared at him. Shut up, I shouted back. You know nothing. Don't say such things. Smith was taken aback, having never been yelled at before. I wanted my husband to live. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted him by my side, to watch our daughter grow together, to age together. That was all I wanted. I couldn't stop the tears that naturally welled up in my eyes. I couldn't tell if it was frustration or sadness. I had vowed not to cry in front of Emily, but couldn't stop. Emily, however, in that moment, Emily gently took my hand, and she smiled at me. Yes, we are a single mother family. But that's not bad. I'm happy. I miss Dad, but Mom loves me so much. What does it matter to you if we're a single mother family? Have we caused you any trouble? The only nuisance here is you, isn't it? Accusing us based on your assumptions, making others apologize for you, you illegally parked in our lot and got angry when called out. Even as a child, I think adults like you are unbelievable. You have a poor heart. Emily was desperately trying to convey her feelings, her voice turning into a tearful shout toward the end. I hugged my daughter tightly. How she had grown up before I even realized it. Smith still seemed to want to say something. However, it seemed like he was completely out-argued by an elementary schooler. You guys, he kept repeating. It was then that someone reprimanded Smith. Let's stop this, Smith. We can't listen to you anymore. It was Johnson. She looked straight at him. Damn it. Smith spat out and ran off somewhere. Wait. The branch manager chased after him. Running away when you can't argue back. How childish. I'm very sorry for the discomfort caused. Johnson apologized sincerely. If you wish to transfer your deposits to another bank, I'll assist with the procedures. And with that, she bowed her head. She must have been a victim of Smith too, probably pressured into not opposing him. Yet she stood up for us this time. No. With someone like you here, I'll stay. I declined politely. I'm sorry for my lack of composure. I apologize too. Johnson smiled kindly at Emily. What a gentle child you have. Johnson, who had complimented Emily, shared that she also had a young daughter. My daughter is quiet, but seems like a child with a strong core. I'll raise her to be kind and strong like Emily, said Johnson, expressing her thoughts. Emily blushed and hid behind me at her words. We never saw Smith at the bank again. What happened to Smith? He was apparently fired for misconduct. In addition to the incident the other day, it came to light that he had been illegally parking in various places. He had been in trouble with the police several times, receiving tickets and driving without a license. He was caught for this and consequently faced disciplinary action. That's the story. Well, he got what he deserved. Johnson, now a familiar face, informed me. She now comes to see me for outside work. We have built a good relationship, including in our personal lives. My daughter wants to play with Emily again. Oh, Emily was also saying she'd love to, so let's get together sometime soon. Yes, please. When Emily played with Johnson's daughter, she quickly grew fond of Emily, calling her big sister affectionately. Emily, too, took her role seriously, saying, I'm her big sister. I have no intention of spending my life with anyone other than Jake, so I can't give Emily a sibling. Maybe Emily understands that, as she seems to dote on the little girl even more. Later, we moved to a new apartment in the city center. Living there brings back memories of the days when the three of us lived together. Dad used to follow you around, remember? Oh, really? But I realized the happy memories outweighed the sadness. I just couldn't help it because Emily was so adorable. I often feel like Jake is still close by. It feels like he's right there when I look back, smiling at us. Was Dad always smiling? Yes, he was. I kind of remember him always smiling, and I loved him so much. So when everyone was crying, I thought smiling like him would make them happy too. Her words took me by surprise. I see. Emily was smiling back then, trying to make everyone laugh just like Jake did. That kindness, she really takes after Jake in that way. That's just like your dad. Really? Now, I can laugh and say that, and it's because of the happy memories I have with Jake. I smiled toward heaven, thinking of him. Then, I showed Emily a photo of Jake. Dad, I've got so much to tell you, Emily said, gazing at Jake's photo and reporting everything that's happened so far. As I watched over the situation, the doorbell rang. Jessica. Emily, startled by the voice, turned around. I saw Jake's mother, Mel, standing there. She smiled kindly at Emily. Thank you for still thinking of him, Jessica. No, Jake gave me Emily and so many memories. He always talked about you. I saw Mel gazing into the distance as if recalling memories. She smiled at me kindly. He'd want you two to be happy. I know. That's just like Jake. Jake would probably prefer us smiling rather than crying over him. Yet, I'll never forget him. Why don't you come over sometime? Really? It's a bit far, but I'd like to talk about Jake. Emily would be happy too. Then, Emily and I spent a few days at my in-laws' place. I learned things about Jake I never knew, and we had a wonderful time. I could almost hear Jake saying, "Stop, it's embarrassing." I had always believed that my daughter needed to be protected at all times. However, Emily grew up to be remarkable and ended up protecting me. In those moments, she seemed incredibly dependable. Mom, my middle school uniform arrived. Oh, it looks great. Emily is no longer just someone to be protected. We are not just in a relationship of protecting and being protected. We intend to live our lives hand in hand. Let's have a lavish dinner tonight to celebrate Emily's start of middle school. Yay. I want to eat Mom's hamburgers. All right, I'll make them. I vowed to continue making Emily happy, for Jake's sake too. You know, Dad also loved my hamburgers. Sounds like I would have gotten along great with Dad. Of course. You are his daughter. Emily beamed at that. There might be times ahead when she struggles with not having a father. Nonetheless, I'll stay close to her heart and grow together. By the way, Johnson mentioned that she wants to celebrate with us next time. She suggested we all go out for a meal together. Got it. I promised to help her daughter with her studies too. You two have become quite close. Yay, I'm her big sister. I plan to do for Emily what Jake would have wanted. So keep watching over us, okay? I felt like Jake was smiling somewhere. Those who lack competence remain at the office. At least before we arrived, we realized you couldn't make it. 5 minutes after leaving for his business trip, my grandson Alex came home. To make matters worse, Brandon, his supervisor, was scolding him on the phone. Alex gently turned to face me as the call came to an end. It's okay, I had a lot of work stacked up anyhow, he said in a low, resigned voice, as though attempting to persuade himself. Besides, I've been a burden on everyone. So, I guess this was bound to happen. He was obviously psychologically exhausted. Brandon's inappropriate actions would not go unpunished. Give it to me. This will be handled by me. You performed admirably. After taking out my phone, I tapped on Brandon's number in my contacts. William is my name. I'm in my 60s and work as a manager and investor for local companies. I started out as an entrepreneur and created my own firm, but I had to step aside from managing my business 5 years ago to care for my wife after she became unwell. I had more than enough money when I sold the business completely. I could start anything fresh, but I didn't have the drive to start something from scratch after my wife died 3 years ago. Nonetheless, people's need for social fulfillment is innate. Even though I no longer had the energy to launch my own business, I came to the realization that I could invest in businesses whose mission aligned with mine. The majority of these are local companies, and I get a kick out of seeing my neighborhood prosper. In addition to being financially invested, I get to supervise operations and participate in decision-making, which allows me to put some of my previous business acumen to use. Actually, I've assisted in saving a number of businesses that were about to fail. I feel a little pleased of what I've accomplished because my grandson Alex works for one of those companies. From above, my wife is undoubtedly seeing and remarking, "You did well." Growing up, Alex, my daughter's only kid, didn't spend much time with his parents. Because she frequently worked night shifts and lost her husband early, my daughter, a nurse, didn't have much time to spend with him. Alex lived with my wife and me for the most part. I'm proud to have brought him up in his father's footsteps. He developed into a good-natured and responsible young man, and I was pleased when he got a position at one of the businesses I had invested in. However, things felt strange since his second year there. He appeared troubled even at home, so I wanted to see how he was doing. "Alex, how are things going at work right now? After hours, you're always working in your room. You understand the need of work-life balance. I always stress to the companies I invest in that profitability is important, but valuing employees is even more crucial. The companies I invest in often have noble ideas but are struggling financially. When they receive funding at the brink of bankruptcy, many business owners become overly focused on generating profit in an attempt to revive their operations. But that approach always leads to failure. No matter how profit-driven a company is, it's run by people. A business that neglects its employees' well-being will collapse sooner or later. That's why I always make it clear before investing. I expect them to take care of their employees. If Alex and others are struggling, that's a bad sign." But Alex just shook his head slowly. "Work and life are both going fine. It's tough, but that's normal. I've learned a lot, so of course I'm busier than last year." He said it with a smile, but it seemed forced. He's always been a resilient kid, so he's probably just enduring it. Concerned about Alex, I pressed further. "Even so, you shouldn't overwork yourself. If you break down, none of it will matter. I should talk to your president, Mr. Anderson, and have them review how things are managed." Alex shook his head at my words and said, "Please don't. If they find out I'm related to an investor, Mr. Anderson and Brandon will start treating me differently, and I have no idea how my coworkers would see me. I'll handle this myself. Just let it be for now." I had the right to intervene if I felt management was failing, but if exercising that right would make things harder for Alex, then what was the point? After some thought, I decided to ask one more thing. "I see. But you are getting paid for all that extra work, right? You're even bringing work home. How's that being handled? That's one thing they can't afford to mess up. Seriously, don't worry about me. I'm not a kid anymore." I felt uneasy because I didn't get a response right away, but for now, I decided to trust what Alex had said. The president of Alex's company, Mr. Anderson, is passionate about work and pursuing profits, but he has an old-school, sports club-like mindset that doesn't quite fit the modern era. I resonated with the company's vision of contributing to society, so after several discussions, I decided to invest in it. He seemed to understand my concerns, so I wanted to believe that he wasn't neglecting his employees. Since I have opportunities to visit the company and attend meetings, I'll be able to assess the situation firsthand. Feeling uneasy, I watched Alex as he headed back to his room. Even though I trusted Alex, my worries didn't go away. Alex's routine after coming home from work is usually to have dinner, take a bath, and then retreat to his room. However, that day, he went straight to his room as soon as he got home. Finding it odd, I quietly stood outside his door and held my breath. I could hear some kind of voice coming from inside. Was he on the phone with someone? I felt bad about eavesdropping, so I stepped away and waited for the conversation to end. But no matter how long I waited, Alex's call didn't seem to be ending. Just when I thought it was finally over, it sounded like he had started talking to someone else. Feeling uneasy, I gently knocked on his door and stepped inside, only to find him wearing headphones and a mic, typing on his computer while speaking. Waiting for the right moment, I said, "That's enough. Stop it now." Startled, Alex flinched and turned around. "How long have you been standing there?" "I'm working right now, so if you need something, can we talk later?" His voice trailed off, meaning there was something he didn't want me to know. I understood that, but I was too worried about my grandson. More than that, I was starting to sense a real problem with the company I had invested in. Working? You just got home from work. And what exactly is this job? Is this even something you're supposed to be doing? Alex's company wasn't a big corporation, so although he was hired as a systems engineer, he sometimes had to do administrative tasks or even sales. I was aware of that, but what he was doing now was more like customer service. This was clearly beyond the scope of his job. Making employees work all day and then forcing them to handle calls and chats after hours. What kind of company does that? Some people prefer night shifts due to their lifestyle, but that's a different matter. Making full-time employees do this is unacceptable. Just as I was seething with anger, Alex's work phone vibrated. "Is that a work email? Let me see." "Come on, don't do this. I'll check it myself." I could tell he didn't want to worry me, but his face looked pale, as if he was on the verge of collapsing. "No," I said firmly, something I rarely did, and took his phone to check the email. What I saw made me unconsciously mutter, "This is awful." The email was from someone named Brandon. The message read, "Is your work going smoothly? The most important thing is trust with our customers. Whenever you receive an inquiry, respond sincerely and provide a satisfying answer. Since you understand the inner workings of the company, you should be able to reply immediately. Once you get used to it, I'll increase your workload, so make sure you handle everything as quickly as possible." After reading it, I looked up at Alex. He had already guessed that it was from Brandon and immediately started making excuses. The customer service reps have been quitting one after another lately. It's just until they can hire replacements. I'll manage somehow. I felt like shouting. Are you kidding me? How could they dump this burden on their employees? Unbelievable. But there was no point in scolding Alex. I placed a hand on his shoulder and spoke calmly. There is no job worth sacrificing your health for. First, eat something and take a bath. Alex hesitated, but I didn't give him a choice and pushed him out of the room. Then, I let out a deep sigh in front of his computer. I needed to arrange a meeting with Mr. Anderson as soon as possible. With that in mind, I started making preparations. The following week, I was surprised to find Alex at home in the middle of a weekday. Day off today. That's rare for a weekday. The city won't be as crowded as the weekend. Could be a good chance to refresh, or you could just relax at home. I spoke in a lighthearted tone, but Alex's face remained gloomy. I waited silently, and eventually he started speaking in a low voice. Actually, I asked for the morning off today. I wanted to go to the hospital. A flood of questions filled my mind, so I voiced my concerns. Are you feeling unwell? Why not take the whole day off instead of just the morning? Also, which hospital are you going to? I'll drive you. I knew I was being overly protective, but Alex rarely admitted to feeling weak. If he was saying this, it must be serious. As expected, Alex shook his head. I'm an adult. You don't have to be so overprotective. Besides, since we're short-staffed, they told me to go back to work as soon as I'm done at the hospital. Was it Brandon who told you that? Alex slowly nodded. Unbelievable. What kind of manager forces a sick employee to come in after a hospital visit? Fury surged inside me, and my voice trembled as I spoke. That man needs to be replaced. But first, I need to hear the full story. I reached for my phone, but Alex quickly snatched it away. Please don't. I don't want to look like someone who can't even stand up for himself. If things get too hard, I'll tell Brandon myself. And if he doesn't listen, I promise I'll talk to you about it. His pleading tone left me with no choice but to nod. I already had a meeting scheduled with Brandon soon. At that time, I'd get the chance to hear his thoughts directly. I would wait until then to confront him. However, when Alex returned from the hospital, I discovered something unexpected. I had assumed he was dealing with a cold or something minor, but that wasn't the case. I realized this when he was getting dressed for work in his room. His wallet was left in the living room, and though I knew it was wrong, my curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to know which hospital he had visited. I expected to find the hospital card from the place he went to today. As expected, his hospital card was inside, but when I saw the name of the hospital, I was stunned. It was a psychiatric clinic. He had reached a point where he had no choice but to seek professional help. I knew that getting an appointment at this particular clinic was difficult. Even if you managed to schedule one, the waiting time was often over a month, and many patients gave up before they could even see a doctor. For Alex to have gone through all that just to get treatment, his struggles must have been overwhelming. Just then, his personal phone vibrated, signaling an incoming message. It wasn't his work phone. Was Brandon still pushing him even in his private time? Already feeling restless, I didn't hesitate to check the screen. To my relief, the message wasn't from Brandon. The sender was someone named Emily, and the message read, "Were you able to go to the hospital? I hope everything went okay. Please take it easy today." Was she a colleague? Knowing that someone at work cared about my grandson gave me a bit of reassurance, but my patience had reached its limit. I walked straight into Alex's room to confront him. Enough is enough. Stop destroying yourself for this job. I must have looked furious as I barged in. At first, Alex's eyes widened in surprise, but then he sighed and sank into his chair. So you saw it. My health issues are real, he admitted. I went to a general physician first, but they couldn't figure out what was wrong. That's why I was recommended to this hospital today. Here, Alex handed me a patient card from a nearby clinic, proving that he had been seeing a general physician. It showed that he had indeed visited about a month ago. And you know, I told you about the company trip coming up, right? I've actually been looking forward to it. I don't want to ruin the atmosphere, so please don't do anything drastic. With that, Alex simply said, "I'm heading out," and left for work. I stood there holding his medical card and could only manage to say, "Take care," as I watched him go. Since then, Alex hadn't shown any signs of exhaustion or emotional distress, so I decided to just keep an eye on him as usual. The day of the company trip that Alex had mentioned arrived in no time, and he left with a cheerful smile. "I'm off," he said. Although Alex was surely exhausted from constantly being on edge at work, the company trip should have given him a chance to relax. I also hoped that Emily, the colleague who had sent him a message earlier, would be going on the trip as well. I was looking forward to hearing about his experiences when he returned. But only 5 minutes after leaving the house, Alex was back. "What happened? Did you forget something?" I asked with a smile. But Alex's expression was dark. "Did something happen?" I asked. After a moment of hesitation, Alex slowly began to speak. "A coworker just called me, saying my name isn't on the list for the trip. So," before he could finish, his phone started ringing. When he saw the caller ID, he let out a deep sigh and picked up the call. From the speaker, I heard Brandon's amused voice. "The incompetent ones stay behind at the office. At least you figured out you weren't coming before reaching the meeting point, huh?" Alex, completely drained of energy, responded with a few half-hearted acknowledgments before ending the call. Then he turned toward me. "I guess it's for the best. I had work piling up anyway. Besides, I've been a burden to everyone, so it can't be helped." He spoke in a quiet, resigned voice, as if trying to convince himself. Then, with tears welling up in his eyes, he rushed to the bathroom and didn't come out. Seething with anger, I slowly walked to the bathroom door. From the other side, I could hear his muffled sobs. He was clearly at his breaking point. Brandon would have to face the consequences of his actions. "Leave it to me. I'll take care of this." "You did well," I said as I pulled out my phone and opened my contact list, selecting Brandon's number. The ringing went on, but there was no sign of him picking up. The thought of him laughing with his colleagues while making Alex the butt of a joke only made my blood boil even more. I had already obtained the contact information from Mr. Anderson, the president of Alex's company, intending to have a direct conversation with him at the right moment. But right now, I had something to say to Brandon. I called again, and again, and again. I wouldn't stop until he answered. Finally, he picked up, his voice dripping with irritation. "Who is this? I'm busy." "My name is William. I apologize for interrupting your company trip, but I'd like to have a word with you." I spoke as politely as possible despite my simmering rage. But Brandon showed no intention of changing his dismissive attitude. "If you know that, then maybe you should think about the timing before calling. Judging by your voice, you're just some old man. Shouldn't you know better? Anyway, who the hell are you? Just giving me a name doesn't tell me anything." I could have introduced myself fully right then and there, but I wanted to see how much I could learn about him first, so I kept my explanation minimal. "You're absolutely right. I happen to have some connections with Mr. Anderson, and I wanted to ask about your company's internal affairs. I understand that now isn't the best time, but I was hoping to arrange a meeting with you later." Yeah, I'll call you back later. I'm hanging up now." He cut me off mid-sentence and ended the call. The fact that he wasn't even fazed when I mentioned Mr. Anderson meant one of two things. Either he was extremely confident, or he had serious issues with communication. Still fuming, I immediately called him back. "Persistent old man, aren't you? I told you to leave it for later." He yelled so loudly I had to pull the phone away from my ear. But I stayed calm and went straight to the point. "If you answer just this one question, I won't call again today. What do you think of your employees?" "My grandson thought he was going on the company trip, but you told him. The incompetent ones stay behind. Is that correct?" There was a brief silence before Brandon let out a chuckle. "Oh, I get it. You're not some business contact. You're Alex's grandpa, huh? What a joke. Imagine running to his grandpa because he can't handle work. Pathetic. Answer my question. What do you think of your employees, your subordinates? My grandson is mentally exhausted because of you." I let my irritation show, but Brandon scoffed mockingly. "Calm down, old man. No need to get so worked up. I see my subordinates as disposable pawns. If your little boy can't handle it, we'll just hire a new recruit. That's how business works." Hearing those words, I made up my mind. "You're fired. Don't bother coming to work tomorrow." When I made my declaration, Brandon fell silent on the other end of the phone. Then, after a brief pause, he suddenly burst out laughing. "Fire me? And what? What exactly can an old man like you do? File a complaint or something. After thinking for a moment, Brandon smirked and said, "Oh, I know." His tone was laced with amusement. "Oh, I know. We have a customer support department. Why don't you give them a call? Tell them, fire Brandon. I'm sure your dear grandson will handle your request with the utmost care." With that, he hung up. I had no reason to continue speaking with him. I had already decided Brandon was an unnecessary presence in the company I had invested in. I immediately started making calls to the necessary parties to take appropriate action. A few days later, at my request, a meeting was arranged with Mr. Anderson, the president of Alex's company. I also invited Alex's colleague, Emily, to the meeting. She would surely provide an honest account of the employee situation. I had specifically asked Emily to join us because I believed she would honestly share the realities of the workplace. No one besides Mr. Anderson knew the purpose of the meeting, so the others sat there, clearly confused. "So, Mr. Anderson, what exactly is the agenda for today? Since you told us we'd discuss it on the spot, I haven't prepared anything," Brandon asked nervously. But Mr. Anderson remained silent. I had asked him to observe and understand the situation before speaking. "I apologize for taking up your time. The reason for this meeting is due to my strong request. My name is William. It's a pleasure to meet you." As I introduced myself, Brandon's eyes widened in realization. "I thought your voice sounded familiar. William. So you're Alex's grandfather. Huh." Although he maintained a polite tone in front of Mr. Anderson, his eyes clearly showed his disdain. It irritated me, but soon Brandon would be facing his own reckoning. He needed to be held accountable. "It's a pleasure to meet you, William. Alex is always a great help to us. My name is Emily." With a gentle demeanor, Emily bowed to me. From the message she had sent Alex, I already knew she was kind, but her expression and voice radiated warmth and sincerity. "So, William, why are you here? Just because you're Alex's grandfather doesn't mean you have a right to participate in company meetings," Brandon scoffed. Mr. Anderson shot him a sharp glare, but he seemed oblivious to it. I was sure Emily shared the same question, so I finally revealed my position. "I mentioned this to Brandon on the phone before, but I have a special connection with Mr. Anderson. In fact, I have invested a significant amount of money into this company, which gives me the right to voice my opinions on its management." As I slowly explained this while glancing at each person in the room, both Brandon and Emily looked shocked. Unlike Emily, who was merely surprised, Brandon had gone pale, and I could see beads of sweat forming on his nose. "Wait, really? So the person who stepped in and helped when our company was struggling financially, that was you?" Brandon turned to Mr. Anderson for confirmation. Being an older man himself, Mr. Anderson had surely experienced the company's financial crisis firsthand. Mr. Anderson gave a slow nod. Seeing this, Brandon visibly trembled. "I see. Thank you very much for your generosity back then. Your advice on system development was also invaluable. We recognize that it played a major role in stabilizing our company," Brandon said, bowing deeply. Beside him, Emily's eyes sparkled with admiration. "So that's how it was. I've been using this company's services for a long time, and I noticed how much the website and purchasing processes have improved. I was really impressed, and to think it was thanks to Alex's grandfather." She turned to Alex with a smile. Alex, looking a bit flustered, avoided her gaze. "When I invest in a company, it's because I believe in it. I contribute financially and offer guidance to help it thrive. That applies not only to the system side of things, but also to the company's management philosophy," I said firmly. "Isn't that right, Mr. Anderson?" For the first time that day, Mr. Anderson spoke. "A company must value its people, both employees and customers, more than just chasing profits. Without that, it cannot survive in the long run. Yet there is someone in management here who treats employees as disposable pawns, I declared. When I made my declaration, Brandon's shoulders twitched in shock. Clearly, he knew exactly who I was talking about. Desperately, he turned to Alex with pleading eyes. Who were you talking about? I don't know anyone like that, right, Alex? He asked in a weak voice. But Alex remained silent. Emily was the one who spoke up instead. I'm sure you already know, which is why this issue is being discussed now. To be completely honest, Alex has been under unbearable pressure from Brandon, to the point where he had to seek medical help. Emily's voice trembled as if she were the one suffering, but she gathered her courage and explained. Emily bowed deeply and said, I knew I shouldn't have ignored it, but I couldn't bring myself to act. Please establish an independent committee to investigate this matter. I beg you. Alex followed suit, bowing as well. Having seemingly accepted his fate, Brandon remained silent from that moment on. In the end, his actions were deemed a serious issue within the company, and an independent committee was set up to review the case. Soon, all of Brandon's wrongdoings would come to light. From what I heard, there were other employees besides Alex who had come forward with complaints. I could only hope that justice would be served for all those who had suffered. During the committee's review, Brandon admitted to everything and voluntarily resigned. I don't know what he plans to do next, but I hope he reflects on his actions and reintegrates into society with a better mindset. It would be ideal if he learns to value his colleagues and subordinates in the future. Lately, Alex has been saying something interesting. Someday, I want to start my own business and contribute to society, he told me. I'm not sure what caused this change in him, but while I warned him that business isn't easy, I also found his words reassuring. Moreover, Emily seems to be fully supporting his vision. The two of them have been spending a lot of time together lately, and since their bond has grown, I've noticed a remarkable improvement in Alex's demeanor. The future belongs to young people like Alex. If I can do anything to help create a world where they can thrive, I intend to do so.